On a busy afternoon in the heart of the city, the streets buzzed with the sounds of cars, chatter, and footsteps. At a crowded bus stop, people waited patiently for the next bus to arrive. The sun was warm but not too hot, and a gentle breeze rustled the leaves of nearby trees. Among the crowd stood a middle-aged man, his face tight with worry and eyes scanning the street. He shifted from foot to foot, clearly in a hurry but trying to keep calm. Next to him was a small dog, no bigger than a loaf of bread. The dog's fur was soft and clean, and its tail wagged happily as if it had no care in the world. It stood close to the man, looking up at him with trusting eyes, as if saying, "I'm right here." The dog's leash was short, held firmly in the man's hand, showing their close bond. Though the man's face showed tension, the dog seemed calm and eager to move. Something in the air hinted that this quiet moment might soon change. The people around them glanced over with curiosity, sensing the man's impatience but unsure why. The bus stop buzzed with everyday life, but beneath the surface a small storm was about to break. This was no ordinary afternoon, and the story unfolding here would touch more than just those waiting for the bus. It was a moment about respect, compassion, and standing up for what matters, for both people and their companions. The bus finally arrived with a low rumble, its doors sliding open to welcome the waiting passengers. People stepped forward one by one, their faces tired but relieved to be heading home, or to their next destination. The man with the small dog moved toward the bus, the dog's little paws tapping softly on the pavement. The dog wagged its tail excitedly, ready for the ride. But just as the man reached the steps, the bus driver's voice cut through the air. "Sorry, sir, no dogs allowed on the bus," she said firmly but calmly. "Only service animals are allowed." The man stopped in his tracks, his face tightening. "She's small, clean, and very well behaved," he said, holding the dog close. "There's no reason she can't ride with me. It's not fair to leave her here." The driver shook her head, eyes steady. "I understand, but it's company policy. No pets on board unless they're certified service animals." Around them, other passengers paused their boarding. Some looked on silently, curious but unsure whether to get involved. A few shifted uncomfortably, glancing between the man and the driver. The bus, once full of movement, now felt heavy with tension. The man's voice grew sharper, frustration bubbling up. "She's my companion. She's not just a pet. I have the right to bring her on the bus." The driver didn't raise her voice, but her tone stayed firm. "I'm sorry, sir, but I have to follow the rules. If you want to ride, you'll have to leave the dog behind." The dog, sensing the change, looked up at the man with wide, confused eyes. Its tail stopped wagging and lowered slightly. It whined softly, as if trying to understand why the man was upset, and why the warm bus was suddenly a place they couldn't enter together. The man's frustration deepened, but the driver held her ground, waiting for him to decide. The crowd remained quiet, some watching with sympathy, others with impatience. The small dog, caught between two worlds, looked helpless and anxious. No one spoke. The moment stretched, the man's next move hanging in the balance. Would he give up the dog? Or would he challenge the rules and risk more than just a bus ride? The silence broke as whispers started to ripple through the passengers waiting to board. Some shook their heads, quietly telling the man to understand the rules. Others gave him sympathetic looks, quietly agreeing that the dog should be allowed on the bus. The air felt thick, heavy with tension and confusion. A woman standing nearby, holding the hand of a small child, spoke up softly but firmly. "I'm sorry, but I'm afraid of dogs. Especially on a crowded bus like this. It's not safe for my child." She glanced at the dog nervously, clutching her child a little tighter. That only added to the pressure. The man's eyes darted between the woman and the driver, his face flushing with frustration. "She won't hurt anyone," he insisted. "She's calm and she just wants to be with me." A young man in a hoodie stepped forward, trying to ease the growing conflict. "Maybe we can find another way," he said quietly. "No need to argue like this. The rules are rules, but maybe there's some middle ground." But the man wasn't listening. His voice grew louder. "I'm not leaving without her. She's part of my life. I can't just leave her here. The driver reached for her radio and spoke into it quietly, requesting a supervisor to come to the bus. The urgency in her voice was clear. This situation was escalating beyond a simple bus ride. Meanwhile, the dog began to whine softly, its small body trembling just a little. The sound tugged at the hearts of some passengers, making the moment even more charged with emotion. People exchanged uneasy glances, unsure of what would happen next. Would the man be forced to step off the bus and leave behind his loyal companion? Would the dog be left alone on the busy street, confused and scared? The tension hung in the air like a thick cloud, and everyone waited for the next move, caught in a moment that felt much bigger than a simple bus rule. This wasn't just about a dog on a bus anymore. It was about fairness, safety, and the quiet struggle between rules and compassion. The bus ride had turned into a test of patience and understanding, and no one knew how it would end. Just as the tension felt like it might snap, the bus driver's radio crackled, and moments later a supervisor arrived. A tall woman with a calm but serious face stepped onto the bus and listened carefully to both sides. She didn't interrupt or rush anyone. She simply watched and waited for the man to speak. The man took a deep breath and said, "She's my emotional support animal. I need her with me." His voice was softer now, but there was still a firm edge to it. "I don't have the paperwork on me, but she helps me a lot." The supervisor nodded slowly, but didn't back down. "I understand, sir, but company policy requires proof of emotional support animals. Without official documentation, we can't make exceptions. It's about keeping everyone safe." The man's frustration flickered in his eyes, but before he could respond, another voice broke through the silence. A woman from the back of the bus stood up. She was calm and confident. "I'm a service dog trainer," she said clearly. "I work with dogs every day, helping them get certified to support people with disabilities." All eyes turned to her as she stepped forward. "Let me take a look at this dog," she offered gently. "I can tell you if she's a service dog or not." The man's face tightened. "No," he said quickly. "I don't want her handled by strangers." The trainer didn't argue. Instead, she looked at the dog, then back at the man. "I understand your feelings," she said softly, "but it's important everyone on this bus feels safe and respected. There's a big difference between a service dog, which is trained to perform specific tasks, and a pet or emotional support animal." She explained patiently that service dogs have special training to help their owners and to behave calmly in public spaces. Emotional support animals can be important for their owners, but they don't always have the same training or protections. The passengers listened quietly, the weight of her words settling over them. Some looked relieved, others thoughtful. The man's expression softened a little, but the conflict still hung in the air. For a moment no one spoke. It was as if everyone was trying to understand something bigger than the rules. Something about care, trust, and respect for all lives, whether human or animal. That moment of silence held a deep truth. Sometimes kindness means knowing when to follow rules, and when to stand firm. The bus driver took a deep breath, steadying herself as she looked the man in the eye. Her voice was calm but firm. "Sir, I'm sorry, but you need to step off the bus with your dog. If not, neither of you can ride today." The man hesitated, his shoulders slumping as the weight of the moment settled over him. He looked down at the small dog, whose tail was low but still gave a faint, hopeful wag. Slowly, almost reluctantly, he stepped back down from the bus, holding the dog close to his chest. A quiet stillness fell over the bus, broken only by soft whispers from the passengers. Then, almost like a gentle wave, applause began, quiet and respectful, but growing steadily. The passengers were thankful for the driver's calm, steady handling of a difficult situation. No shouting, no anger, just a clear message that rules mattered, and they were there to protect everyone. The driver turned to face the passengers, her voice steady and kind. "I know this is hard," she said, "but these rules aren't just made to be strict or mean. They're here to keep all of us safe. Not everyone is comfortable around dogs, and some people rely on rules to feel secure during their ride. That includes people with allergies, fears, or other concerns we might not see. Her words hung in the air, honest and real. The passengers nodded quietly, many feeling a mix of relief and understanding. A young woman sitting near the front pulled out her phone and started recording the last moments of the scene. The driver's calm explanation, the man and his dog standing quietly by the curb. The video captured the gentle respect in the air, the complexity of the moment, and the kindness behind the rules. Later, that video would be shared online. It would go viral, sparking conversations far beyond this busy city bus stop. People would debate and discuss, but most would agree on one thing. Sometimes kindness means holding the line, even when it's hard. And sometimes, love for a companion means knowing when to step back. For the man and his dog, the ride home wasn't on the bus that day, but for everyone watching and listening, the story became a quiet reminder of respect, empathy, and the small difficult moments that connect us all. The video of the bus driver calmly handling the situation quickly spread across social media. Within hours, thousands of people had watched it, shared it, and added their thoughts. The clip showed not just a rule being enforced, but a quiet act of empathy and patience in a tense moment. Comments poured in from all over. Many praised the driver for her calmness, her kindness, and the way she stood firm without anger. She handled it with so much grace. One comment read, "Respecting rules and showing compassion, that's real strength." But the conversation wasn't simple. Others debated animal rights and public safety. Some felt the man should have been allowed to bring his dog, saying emotional support animals are important. Others argued that safety and comfort for all passengers must come first. The debate was loud, honest, and sometimes heated. In the middle of it all, the man himself returned to some comment threads. He apologized for his anger and explained how much his dog meant to him. "She's not just a pet," he wrote. "She helps me every day. I was frustrated, but I never wanted to cause trouble." The dog, small and quiet in the video, became more than just a furry companion. It turned into a symbol, a reminder of the delicate balance between kindness and rules, between love and responsibility in a busy, crowded world. As the story spread, the narrator's voice gently reflects on what this moment taught everyone watching. That empathy means listening to different sides. That respect means following rules made to protect. And that sometimes understanding isn't easy but is always necessary. In a world full of noise and rush, this simple story of a man, his dog, and a bus driver reminds us that kindness and fairness can walk together, even when the path isn't clear. Sometimes rules exist not to make life harder, but to protect everyone, including animals. This story shows that kindness doesn't mean breaking the rules, but standing firm with empathy and respect. The bus driver's calm and caring response reminds us that true understanding includes both compassion and responsibility. Whether a companion walks on 2 legs or 4, they deserve respect and care. And in the small moments like waiting at a bus stop or facing a difficult choice, there's always a chance to choose kindness. This story invites everyone to pause and think, how can we be patient, understanding, and fair to those around us? Because when empathy meets accountability, we build a kinder world, one moment at a time.